Good evening, everybody. My name is Real Estate Investor Sav. I'm your host of the Wind City Investors Club. And if you don't know already, every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m., we try and bring an expert out to talk to us about a specific topic. What better way to spend our COVID evenings than actually getting some work done, right? So today is Tuesday, of course, and with us we have Claire Drage. So Claire is not only a longtime friend of the Wind City Investors Club, she's a fellow investor. She's also a networking, I want to say supremacist, but not really, no. Networking master, let me put it that way. And also, for those of you who don't know, Claire is the mortgage extraordinaire, in my opinion. Right, everything to do with mortgages. So, Claire, welcome. Good to see you again.
And you, I feel like it's been so long. And although I feel such a big connection with Wind City, I have my daughter-in-law's family is in Windsor, and boy, you guys are having a good market right now. It's pretty good down there. So it's really cool to be on tonight and be able to share some of this stuff with you guys.
Yeah, lovely to have you back. You're absolutely right. It's been some time now because. Obviously, we're not doing the physical meetings, and then of course we bump into each other, in the network, I should say. So, we can do it over the internet. So I'm not too complaining. You're still looking lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. I think the time is right, actually, Claire, to bring you out here because last week, I don't know if you know, but we had a mortgage broker. We were talking about traditional mortgages, right, and what's happening with the situation with COVID, right? And if we are looking to get financed, is the process longer? And during that discussion, one thing that popped up to me, or we kind of concluded, is that listen, private money is maybe something that we should be looking at, quite. Sorry, I'm just trying to admit somebody here, but looking at private money because of the process and what's happening right now with COVID, right? So I thought it was a great timing for you to come on here because unlike a lot of mortgage brokers or mortgage agents, people who are in mortgages, in my opinion, private money is a really, really small sphere, right? And I know, from our dealings and a lot of people from the Wind City Investors Club who dealt with you, that's one of your expertise. So welcome again.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to add to that when it comes to the timing and stuff like that, but.
You know what? It's one of those things where I think that we all know that there's alternative ways of being a real estate investor, right? We all know bricks and mortar is a good, solid investment. I always kind of say you can own the bricks or you can loan on the bricks or do both. And I think a lot of people kind of go, I don't have enough money to be the bank. I don't have enough money to be the lender. I don't have millions of dollars. And don't actually realize that you don't actually have to have a lot of money to become the bank for someone else. And we're definitely seeing, I've always had high demand. About 68% of my own book of business is with private lending. Personally, I do a lot of private lending myself. I've had 140 odd properties we've managed and done that, got the t-shirt. Now, I like to be in that third wealth bucket, which is to be the bank. But there's definitely high demand. I will, however, say that, like any good investment, it's all about due diligence. Trust, but verify. Trust the information your power team member's giving you, whether it's another fellow investor looking for private financing or it's a mortgage broker presenting an opportunity to you. But you do need to verify that information and just make sure that there's some third-party validation that you're able to do a little bit of due diligence yourself. And there's also, I don't want to be like negative ninny, but there is also a lot of crap out there. Let's just put it frankly. There is a lot of borrowers that are borrowing private money that shouldn't be. I actually get a lot of my current investors ask me, how many defaults have happened since COVID-19? Like, how many people have lost money? And I will tell you, zero people have lost money doing private mortgages or lending with our office. And we pride ourselves in really making sure we screen the borrower. I mean, you got to make sure that not only is it suitable for the borrower and they can pay you back, but is it affordable? And what is their character? Are they just going to turn around and go, you're a rich lender, take the home, I don't care. Or do they really truly believe in the financial obligation they're taking on? And that has proven to me in the last sort of 2 or 3 months that the due diligence we do on our borrowers has shown that we actually had one person who asked for their mortgage to be deferred. So that had a private mortgage with us, with one of our lenders. It was quite funny because he kind of called up. It was about 2 weeks, 8 days to 2 weeks into COVID-19. And he said, oh, I'm just calling up. I'd like my mortgage to be deferred on my private mortgage I have. And he's doing a burr.
Pretty quick, eh?
And it was pretty quick, exactly. So I said, okay, hold on a second. We need to have a discussion. So you need to listen to me very carefully. So you're asking me to reach out to your private lender only 2 weeks into COVID-19 to officially declare you are in financial hardship and cannot make your payment. If I do that, because I will ask if I feel it's, suitable, if I do that, you need to know you will no longer get any further financing from us until either you're up to date or you've proven you're out of financial hardship, because how can it all go to hell in a handbasket in 2 weeks when, we hadn't even got to April 1, the first rent payment's not being paid.
Click.
Exactly. So he said, oh, whoa, hold on, Claire. He's like, I thought like the government, Trudeau said everyone should get 6 months deferral. So I was just kind of applying because I thought that it was like a government program. And I'm like, yeah, no. The government's not paying for mortgage deferrals. They're giving support to help you make the payments so you don't need to do it. So he was one borrower that said, no, please don't ask.
yeah, that was a fast turnaround in that fashion trend, eh? I think,
oh my gosh.
COVID hit us. Everybody was asking for deferrals. Banks were pretty, I would say, lenient in the start at least,
Yeah.
And then when the April rent came in and the May rent came in, people realized, okay, maybe this was not a great idea after all. Right?
It wasn't so bad.
Which is probably a good thing. Yeah. Well, we jumped right into it.
I know. Sorry.
Which is great. But if you allow, if you allow me to rewind a little bit, right? Of course, are you still an active investor, Claire? That's my first.
Oh yeah. Well, yes and no. Determined active. I'm the bank. Like my own personal investments.
Right.
I don't own any bricks. I'm done with tenants and toilets. I've got the assets to prove I've been successful in that area. So I like to be the bank. I won't lie to you. I kind of like to sit back and be the bank.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it because that's right before this, I went on live and I was talking about exactly that I mean, most of us are in real estate not to own properties or to be a landlord or fix the toilets, as you say, right? It is really for financial freedom,
Yeah.
So, private money and loaning out your private money is one sort of revenue stream that a lot of people don't really can't understand, right? How can you be right?
Yeah.
And I think our duty is to inform people and educate people that, listen, not only is it possible, it's quite easy, it's safe in Canada especially, and it'll make you a ton of money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So okay. So you're not actively investing in the brick and mortar, but of course you're investing in other people who are doing that, and I would like to think that you're investing in your mortgage business, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
yeah. So for those of us who don't know you too well, maybe you want to give us a real brief introduction to your mortgage group there.
Okay, yes, absolutely. So I am the CEO of the Windrose Group. We are a mortgage alliance team. I have mortgage brokers and agents from BC over to here in the East Coast. And our specialty is working with real estate investors. We consider ourselves sort of specialists, as in we work with every single bank. And also my background, I rewrote and taught the creative financing course for Rich Dad, Poor Dad for a number of years here in Canada. And, we do more, our revenue comes from funding mortgages and loans. But ultimately our passion comes from helping our real estate investors realize their why. No one wants to own real estate for the sake of owning real estate. It's what can owning real estate or being a bank on real estate, what can it give you? Do you want to retire 10 years earlier or quit your job? What does that look like? Is that 5K in monthly cash flow. So therefore, do we need to then look at sort of cash flowing properties? So, mortgages is how we sort of generate revenue, if you like. But really, I'd say our passion is definitely when it comes to, creating that plan, right? And it's just so cool when someone calls me. I had a card at the holiday season, and someone had sent me a card saying that they earned more money being a private lender with us than they did on their regular job. And they earn 6 figures on their regular job. And they're kind of like, and I did nothing. I didn't have to answer my cell phone in the evening. I didn't have to deal with emails at the weekend. I didn't have my boss bitching at me because I hadn't got that report in for the 10th time. It was, that's pretty cool. I love that bit. So yeah, we do mortgages. You could say that's boring, but really it's the result of what we do, that drives us.
That's really perfect because, as I said, again, most of us have the dream, right? That we want to have a truly passive income, right?
Yes.
Rental properties are not passive. I don't care what anybody else says, right? You have to work for it. So, and today's session really is, I would like to focus on the how-to, right? How do we actually do that? I mean, we've heard about it. There's people talking about it, but I've never seen anybody who actually does it, right? And if I have some money sitting in the bank for whatever reason that I don't know what to do with it, how do I get it to you or anybody else and lend this out and do it, again, safely, with the proper checks and balances in place? That'll make me a ton of money, right? I see you, before we get into that, I see you have some free gifts for us, or am I seeing?
Yeah, there are kind of 3 little, where's my hard copy here? It's kind of 3 little books I've written with regard to the different wealth buckets. If you email info@the Windrose group and just put 3 books in the subject line, we'll email you a soft copy of all of them. There's a COVID-19 brochure we've done, which we're getting a lot of industry praise on, that we'll also send you too. So yeah, they're light reads. There's lots of pictures, so it's okay. They're light reads.
Yeah, I like those. I like those.
Those sample cash flow analysis, but I'm very process and detail oriented. So, as well as understanding the good, the bad, and the ugly about all aspects, because you're right. Some people, tenants and toilets is like, bleh. For others, they're like, well, I don't mind. Everyone's different, right?
Claire, before we go, make sure that you put in this detail in the chat room as well so people can copy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into the how-to, basically, why should we even think about, private money? What are we talking about over here? I'm happy owning properties because everybody told me that real estate is the true way to wealth, right? So why should I be giving my money out to somebody else? I can go buy another house for $100,000. Please explain.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you've got to decide, to be successful in real estate, there's 3 key components: time, money, and expertise. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have much time, you've got a busy family life and you don't want to do tenants and toilets, you don't want to flip real estate, you just don't, whether you have time or want to spend time, maybe you're like, well, no, I want to earn money with as little effort as possible. So maybe you don't have much time. Maybe you've got some money. It could be hidden money like equity in real estate, RSP, a LIRA, a TFSA, cash. And also it could be that you just didn't know there were options to invest it in other than giving it to the bank. And then expertise. If you don't if you're worried about finding the right borrowers, or you're just so confused on which real estate investing strategy is right for you, this one, you just need to have money because it's very, very little time. And, the skill is to really, be able to read a few documents and have a level of trust that you've verified the information you're given. And that's it. Your lawyer does the rest and the mortgage broker that presented you with the right opportunity. So it's the easiest way to passively invest in real estate without being the landlord, basically.
Let me play devil's advocate over here.
Yeah.
So I'm a new investor. Let's even say I've never invested in real estate in my life, right? I have a full-time job. I don't know. I'm a lawyer or something. I work for the government, right? And I get 6 figures a year, and I'm banking this in my RSPs, or I have it in the savings account and whatnot. but I have zero idea about real estate investing. Why am I getting into this, right? I mean, am I trying to get out? Is that something for me, or is that, do you need to be a seasoned investor? Do you know what you're getting into? Do you have to have done some renovations in your home to understand, before you give this money out? If you understand what I mean.
Absolutely. So I would say it's really bizarre, because when you talk to people about being the bank, it's kind of like, oh, it's so risky. I don't know what I'm doing. That sounds super complicated. When you go and buy shares or stocks or bonds in a pharmaceutical company or an IT company, you don't need to learn how to make drugs or do your R&D. So, you're pretty much investing in something that you trust the person who's presenting it to you knows what they're doing. This is no different. The real estate, the being the bank is no different. We blindly trust others to control our money, whereas what I'm saying is, no, do it yourself. Have a little bit of interaction with the people that you're borrowing, understand their story, and take control. Just basically taking control. It sounds more difficult than it is. The hardest thing, I would say, is finding the right borrowers that aren't going to screw up your retirement plan, basically. Finding the right borrowers. And at the Windrose Group, we have, especially my own book of business, I approve all private mortgages we offer. And we do have I would say we fit a certain model. We've picked an ideal borrower, a borrower that after my 20 plus years of experience, I've determined is right for us, has the least amount of hassle and the highest percentage of success. So maybe I'll just kind of jump to a slide here, which I kind of want to show you, which
while you're doing that, guys, if you have any questions so far for Claire or myself, then please, put that out in the chat group, and then we can address it. Maybe we've not addressed the topic as yet, and we're coming to that, but put that in the chat group so we can get to that, right? And Claire, going back to basically my question over here, like I don't know if you have a statistic or something like that when it comes to the lenders, the ones who actually giving you their money. What's the typical profile? Who are these lenders? Are they lawyers, doctors?
No.
That they have.
No. You'll be surprised. I mean, basically, for private mortgages, the minimum investment, I mean, you could argue that the minimum to invest into, real estate-based product, if you like, can be as little as like $5,000, and you can be investing in a multifamily REIT, a real estate investment trust, giving you anywhere from like a 6 to 8% return. To get into private mortgages, it's a minimum typically of around 100 to 150,000 for first mortgages and 50,000 for second mortgages. But that money
is $50,000 to get in.
Yeah.
That's
so, I mean, I've got everything from Canada Post workers to government workers. Like, in fact, this might come out wrong, but we don't get many lawyers, doctors, dentists, and accountants. And the reason why, actually accountants we do, a lie. So those doctors, dentists, and lawyers, we don't get many of those because they blindly trust their private banker who's on Bay Street, and they basically just give their millions to them and just kind of, hope that they do well. So they don't typically come through a mortgage broker. Their financial planner is pretty much doing it for them. But have they seen big hits in this last 2 weeks with the stock market going down?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I bet those financial planners aren't calling them.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not worried. Like, we're in solid bricks and mortar, not a shares in a company that, let's face it, I mean, there are some companies that 2 months ago, you'd never heard of Zoom. And now you can't buy their shares are through the roof. But, investing in WestJet or an airline is a different story, right?
Yeah, that's a revelation for me as well, that you can, your 50,000 buy-in is quite incentivizing. Yeah. It's quite incentivizing.
Well, and also a lot of people have got, and also it can be joint with a partner, your spouse or your significant other. So, you've got a TFSA, a tax-free savings account. One of you's got 40, the other one's got 20. So we can combine them. It would be called a syndicate mortgage, where they're used for one investment. If, you know, by combining multiples. So our biggest aha moment for a lot of our investors is the LIRAs, the locked-in retirement accounts, where, you know, that's an old employee pension plan that they were basically given and were told, oh, it's locked in, you can't touch it. Well, you can invest that in private mortgages, but they think that it's locked in with the financial advisor they're with, that their company, you know, recommended to them. Yeah. And it's kind of a bit of, and don't get me wrong, I have some amazing financial advisors that are also our clients, but there's a lot of them that, you know, don't choose to clarify what locked in means, you know.
That says it all. If you have clients who are financial advisors themselves, so they know where the real money is made.
The good ones do, because the good ones diversify. The good financial planners know, if I've got 300,000 of someone's money, I should diversify. Private mortgages, private markets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, Absolutely. Some GICs and cash. Like, they get it, right?
So I think you have a slide about the borrower, yeah. But if you allow, I would love to stick on the lender, right? Because yeah. You know, that's what we're trying to answer the questions over here. You mentioned LIRA, you mentioned you know, TFSA, RSPs, of course. What else? Do you have a comprehensive list that you can show us to say, okay, if I have money in any of these things, I can actually use it for private mortgages?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. Actually, I'll come back to this one because you'd asked me, like, why would I do it? Like, and these are right. The 3 questions the lender needs to have answered.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of, it's what you need to know as a lender. 3 questions. One is, why is the borrower using your money and not the bank? So why? It's a good question. Yeah. What are they going to do with it, and how do we control it? Don't want to give someone a second mortgage who says they're going to pay off debt, but they run off to Vegas. And number 3 is, how are they going to pay it back? So if you get these 3 questions answered and documentation to back it up, then it's literally as easy as that. And you go with what you feel is most comfortable. I mean, you couldn't call a CEO of SNC Lavalin and say, why are you using my money and not raising it from the bank? What are you going to do with it, Mr. CEO? And how are you going to pay me back with a dividend? Like, you don't get that. With this, you do. You get more, it's like hands-on, but hands-off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, if you're investing anyways, you know, this is what you would do in a deal. I mean, you're looking at the numbers in a deal, right? You're looking at what your risk is, what your exit strategy is, and so on and so forth. If you're a investor, you know, current investor, right? But definitely if you're a newbie and you're going straight into private mortgages, then these questions are so important to answer. Yeah. But more than that, that's why you go to your expert. That's why you go to your financial advisor, because he knows, you know, and he can get the answers to those questions. That's why you would go to somebody like Claire, because I guess, and I'm speaking on behalf of Claire here, please correct me if I'm wrong, Claire, you ask these questions, right, of the borrower. It's not me who's going and asking the questions. I would assume that you have these questions answered already, and then you propose a deal to me or a borrower to me and say, okay, this is your ideal, you know, your ideal fit, if you will.
Yeah, we have like, I don't know, 8 to 10 pages of information in our opportunity package. If we get chance, I'll show one live today, because we share everything. We answer those 3 questions. You get to know everything about the borrower. We also provide social media links, their website links. If we get chance, I can talk about the types of borrowers, but I definitely have a favorite, and that's just based on experience and reliability of that borrower to adhere to what they promised they were going to.
I love the social media links. I love it. Show your work.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay, so on this slide, what we've got here are, there's different paths to succeeding as a banker. So the first column there you'll notice is if you have equity in your home, like you have a line of credit, or you've just got cash or stocks and bonds or GICs that you're going to cash out, then they can be used. When we look at leveraging any existing real estate by using a line of credit, we definitely always want to make sure you're not over leveraging. I do not want someone to max out their line of credit to be the bank, and that's the only liquidity they have. We always want to make sure that not only are you protecting your credit score, but you're not spending every penny of savings to get to be the bank. We want to give you a buffer. So basically, if you're looking to access your line of credit, we would literally, if we don't even have one, we can set one up. And basically, you start to get opportunities. We email you opportunities when we know how much you have, what your timeline is, and when do you need the funds back. That one's important. We have a very simple 2-page questionnaire, about 10 questions. Because if you need your money back in a month, because you've got your own closing, you don't want to be a private lender, because the average term on a private mortgage is 1 year. Like, if we get chance, we can always talk about promissory note loans. They have shorter terms, but on private mortgages, typically it's a year. And so you've got to make sure that you don't need access to that capital. And then, if you have an existing RSP, a LIRA, or a TFSA, then you literally just have to open up a self-directed account. They call it self-directed. And you transfer your current LIRA, RSP, or TFSA into it. And then you literally start to direct it into mortgages. You receive your monthly payments. Or you can open up a new self-directed account. You make a contribution. We send you opportunities. You say yay or nay. Sit back and relax. I know I make it sound so easy, but it really is. Like, people think this is so complicated. It's not.
Claire, are we going into the how-to when you say self-directed, open a self-directed account? What's the complexities over there? I've heard some stories, where your financial advisor advises you against that, and so on and so forth. Are we going to do that, or do we take it now? Or
absolutely, we can touch on that now. So,
okay, perfect.
So let's assume you already have a LIRA, a TFSA, or an RSP. So step one is and let's assume it's with another money manager. So a money manager would be, whether it's, RBC or Edward Jones or Sun Life, wherever it is. So someone is looking, an institution of some sort is looking after your funds. So step one is to look at where they're currently invested and speak to your current advisor on what would be the penalties or the net market value if whatever it was invested in was to be sold off and left as cash inside your current, let's just say, RSP, to keep it simple. So for example, if you're invested in stocks and bonds, you're really calling up your advisor and saying, if I was to convert them to cash, still keeping them in my RSP, what would be my market value? So for example, let's say February the 1st, you got your statement and it said it was worth 100,000. Well, the chances are, through COVID-19, if you were to ask them to cash in your stocks and bonds, you might have 60 or 70,000. So that's the first step, because if you're going to take a big hit, we really have to reevaluate. Is it worthwhile for you? Should you wait for a rebound? Because it's going to take much longer to not only get back to where you were, but see an improvement. Mm-hmm. Some people say, hey, listen, it's been going down for years. I just want to stop the bleed now. So I'm okay with whatever the current value is. So you do need to speak to your current advisor and basically ask them, what is the market value if I cashed out today? Now, we don't mean cash out as in cash in your RSP. We mean just sell off what you've bought for me. Yeah. What you've invested in.
It's still under the RSP, so you've not broken the RSP at all.
Nothing's been broken, nothing's been taken out. Everything is done all through trust accounts, ranging from your current RSP to the self-directed account to the lawyer's trust account when it's directed in mortgages. So everything stays under the trust umbrella, so you don't break the benefits, the tax benefits of an RSP.
Can I interrupt you for a second? When you say RSPs over here, I don't see RESPs, for example, there.
So you can use RSP, RESP, LIRA, TFSA, and also a DSP. You can also use an XYZ and a BCV. No, I'm just kidding about the last two. I don't know what they mean. lots of
I'm not
initials
that
and
informed.
acronyms.
Yeah.
I know. So a DSP is a disability savings plan.
Oh, okay.
So that can be directed in mortgages, and that's where anyone can open up a disability savings plan for anyone that is obviously disabled. It can be a godchild, a daughter, a niece, nephew, or just a friend or a stranger. And the government puts in a specific amount to match the savings you put in. So the other one is an RESP, the Registered Education Savings Plan. The reason why I don't talk about these is two reasons. Two really. The first reason is the beneficiary of the plan is a child or a disabled individual.
Mm.
It's not Savio. So say you opened up an RESP for your child or a DSP for your godchild. You opened it up, you manage the portfolio, but you're not the beneficiary, right? You can't cash it in and keep it because the beneficiary is the child. So I have concerns with that, I'll be honest with you, in being part of controlling a fund that you're not the beneficiary of, right? It's not like it's saving for your retirement, it's actually saving for your child's education. Or the disabled individual might need liquidity to pay for medical care and enhancements. If it's an RESP, now we have to track the age of your children. When do they turn 17? Are they going to go to university? Do they need it for a grant? So it becomes in my opinion, again, it's just me. Maybe there's other people that will use those funds. You're not the beneficiary, and there's other elements that need to be considered to ensure liquidity.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the first one, when it comes to RSPs, is the answer to the question, why you're in real estate investing in the first place. If your answer is, oh, I need to set up my kid for success, which, forget my kids, no worries for me, thank you. then I'm not using the RSPs, right? So I guess it depends on the answer to that question. But a lot of people, of course, are buying that house for, setting up their kids for, I don't know, for the education purposes or whatever that they want to sell and cash out when they hit 17 or 18. Mine cannot go to school. That's fine with me. One more, which I don't see over here, or maybe it fits in the first bucket over there, Claire, is life insurance. What if you have a nice fat policy that you've been paying into for the last, 5, 7, 10 years?
So are you talking about borrowing against it and using that, or are you talking about the like literally cashing it in for its equivalent cash value?
No, borrowing against it. So I guess you would go for a HELOC, right? Or not a HELOC, but a line of credit against that, I would assume.
So I'll be honest with you, I haven't done one of those. Okay. Our biggest challenge has been that the institution that's going to give you a loan using the life insurance as security, even though they're not supposed to do tide selling, are going to want to control the asset you invest in using that loan.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
And so therefore, are they going to let you self-direct it into private mortgages? Probably not. They might want you in private markets, which is slightly different depending on your net worth. But there is usually an element of, they don't call it tide selling. It's kind of more, they want governance to make sure that if you have 100K in life insurance or a policy, and you're borrowing 100K, you're basically, what are you going to do with that money to make sure that you've got enough coverage?
I'm getting there. What bloody hell? What do they have to say about it?
What's that? I know. I mean, God forbid if the banks want to control our money, like, what are we thinking?
Yeah.
I've been doing it for blooming years.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I think we've hit all the possibilities, at least in my mind, of where this money is coming from. So, I cut you off. You were talking about opening the self-directed account. Yeah. You have the RSPs. You're not breaking your RSP. You're not breaking your Lira. What's happening next? Now you have a cash value, right?
So now you have a cash value. So now you're deciding if you still want to move forward, and then obviously you're going to trigger to tell your current advisor to cash it in, leave it in your RSP. So at this point, you're going to open up a self-directed account. There are actually 5 trustees. And so you have to be with a trustee. And they've got to be ones that are specific to allow you to invest in private mortgages. And there's only 5 of them in Canada. I'm going to talk about my 2 favorite, which are not only well known, but they're really good at it. And that is Olympia Trust and Community Trust. Olympia is out of Calgary and Community Trust is out of Mississauga. So they're both great trustees. To open up an account, it's an online link. You can do it all online. Super easy. They both have amazing portals. They take e-signatures. So opening up the account is very easy. Do you want me to touch on the other 3 trustees?
No. You know, let's take
good, because they're all crap.
Perfect.
But we don't work with them.
Also, if anybody has any comments for that, then please send Claire a message directly.
Yeah, that's right. Again, I know I sound so we have a specific model and it works, you know, and why fix what isn't broken?
That's it.
And there's an abundance of business that fits within our model, so we never don't have enough opportunities to present to people. So I want a kiss too. Mwah, mwah.
Yeah.
Bless. Is it bedtime?
No, in COVID, absolutely not.
I thought that was a kiss goodnight for bedtime.
Yeah,
wishful thinking, right?
Right.
Okay, so
let's talk about.
So you've got cash in your existing RSP. You've opened up your self-directed account. Let's say it's with Olympia Trust. Okay, it's all online. You've opened it up. One of the forms that you will fill in with Olympia Trust is a transfer request form. And you will literally identify where your money currently is, your account number, and how much you want to transfer over. Do you want to transfer 100% of it, or do you want to do a specific dollar amount? I mean, you might have 200,000 with your current money manager, be quite happy with some investments, and only want to move over part of it. That's fine too. So now you've got Olympia Trust has got a transfer request form, let's say of 100,000. They are going to send that to your current financial advisor, money manager. It's typically at that point, your money manager, if they haven't already said this to you, are probably going to call you up and tell you you're crazy, it's illegal, you're nuts, you're stupid, don't know what you're doing. And this is kind of when you start to have some of those, you know, well, the performance hasn't been that good. I've applied the rule of 72. My funds aren't doing what I expected. I'm diversifying. I will tell you everything we're talking about is not illegal. It meets CRA guidelines and it all goes through your lawyers. So, you know, there's no big, you know, a lot of financial advisors they're paid based on funds under management. So when you start removing, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, they're not happy bunnies. So you might get some resistance.
Absolutely, and I think you touched on a very sensitive topic. And you know, I think it's, as Canadians, this is something that we're not good at. We're not good.
We're too polite.
Yeah.
Too polite. I'm like, it's my money. Give it to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Control your money.
Absolutely. You know, on another topic, we were talking about wholesaling and asking somebody if they wanted to sell the house, right? And one of the things is going and knocking on the door. Like, how would you know if somebody wants to sell a house if you don't go and knock on the door? But I can't do that. That's so rude. You know, that's not what I'm used to. This is not our culture, this and that. But listen, we're here for a business, right? If somebody is taking control of your money and you are not, then shame on you, correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Claire has already said it very clearly. It is not illegal, right? It's nothing they can stop except money going to their pockets. So definitely pick up the phone when you get that money in the self-directed account, you know, and we're talking about using that, you know, you are going to get pushback. Don't be surprised if, you know, you hear it here first. If you haven't done already, you are going to get pushback and you have to push back. It's as simple as that.
You're so right. It's your money. Like, they took it well enough when you put it in there.
Oh, yeah.
So from someone else. So now it's their time to let go a bit, right? So okay. So now you sent the transfer request. You've had a few to and fro's with your money manager, and finally they've pressed the button, sent the money to Olympia Trust. So now you've got
question first. A couple of questions. Is there any cost for the self-directed account first and foremost?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are initial setup fees. They usually
Right.
cost about $275 to
Okay.
set up each account. So TFSA, Lira, like that would be 2 times.
Okay.
So there is an initial setup cost, usually under $300 per account. And then there is an annual cost to maintain that account. If you do one mortgage, it ranges from $200 to $400 a year. Now, that fee is the one that you need to pay yourself. But if we get chance, I can talk about what the borrower pays and what you pay. And the bottom line is you'll
I was just
get...
about to ask, yeah, it doesn't the borrower pay that anyway, so, but okay.
Yes and no. So the borrower is going to pay specific fees related to the mortgage transaction. They're not going to pay your annual fee for opening up an account.
Right.
Okay. So, however, things like a discharge fee. So when the borrower pays you back in our term sheet that we provide for you and is approved by your lawyer, there's a $350 fee the borrower has to pay you for the inconvenience of you reviewing a discharge and signing it. Okay. But your self-directed, like Olympia Trust, is only going to charge $140. So you're keeping the extra couple of $100. So we typically would say that $200 a year is your cost. Pretty much the rest is going to be covered by the borrower. If they bounce a payment, Olympia Trust will charge $100. We charge $250 to the borrower. So you get double back what you've been charged. So you do typically find in the long run, you've got your funds back. But I would say to you that, do you know how much you're paying right now to your money manager?
2-3% maybe.
It's a lot more.
Yeah.
So you have $100,000, you're paying $2,000 to $3,000 a year for your money manager to lose you money. I want that job.
Yeah.
With no consequences. With no consequences. It's like, oh, it's the market. It's COVID-19. It's winter. It's summer. It's a long spring. Like, bleh.
Yeah.
Like, give me my fees back then.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Do we have to, for Olympia Trust, for example, is it advisable, or is it necessary at all? Do we have separate accounts for every single mortgage, or you have Olympia Trust and then you have a bunch of mortgages on there? Doesn't really matter.
So basically you've got, Olympia Trust, and then you've got separate accounts based on the type of registered fund they are.
Got it. Okay.
So Lira, RSP, tax-free savings account. The reason why they have to be separate, of course, is because of the individual tax benefits. Mm-hmm. So like your RSP is after tax, but deferred tax. Your TFSA is tax-free. The earnings are tax-free. Yeah. So if you have, then you'll basically, it's no different to you having one tax-free account and you've invested in 5 different stocks. You could have one tax-free savings account, but maybe you've got 2 mortgages you're invested in.
Right. And then the final question I had on this account opening and things like this, how long does it take from your money manager or your bank, whoever says, okay, transfer the funds now, to actually getting into your Olympia Trust and sitting there and now ready to be used?
So I would say to you, best case scenario, from the time you fill in the form and press the button, you could be looking at 2 weeks. Worst case, I've seen 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that's just, I've seen stupid stuff. I've seen like Olympia Trust has sent the form, but there was a space in the wrong place on the form. So the money manager rejected it, sends it back. Oh, the address is street and you only put ST. We need you to change that, like bounce back. So, and all of that is just stall tactics, really. Yeah. So that, and I'll be honest with you, if you're moving 50 or 100,000, you don't typically get that much pushback. But if you're moving a large chunk, it really is, they don't want to lose your money. They don't want to let go of your money, whatever's left.
Maybe you just break it up, because I have about a couple of million sitting in my bank account, so I just do it, 200 at a time or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's just kind of, I'm like, I need to send you some forms, some opportunities. So, okay, so now your money has landed in Olympia Trust, okay? So it's sat there. So now you've got 100,000 sat there. It's not making you any money while it's in that account, okay? But it's not also depreciating. It's what we would call your principal amount, the amount that you've got in there. So now basically at that point, you want to obviously reach out to us or the mortgage brokers you're working with. You can work with multiple, you don't have to work with one. And you basically want to start reviewing opportunities to invest. Now, what we typically like to do is if we know money's on its way and we've got closings, for example, in June or July, we would start sending you those opportunities to consider today. Giving a bit of a buffer, but not too much downtime. We don't want downtime.
So what are you suggesting, or what I'm hearing, Claire, is that, listen, if you want to get into private mortgages, you have to do some administrative stuff. You got to put your, line up your ducks much before you even get the first deal here. So much, 2 to 6 weeks, right? As the longer your money is sitting in one of these LIRAs or TFSAs or RSPs, doing nothing, other than paying fees, right? Or making a very small, let's be fair, it's small, right? 2-3%. The longer it sits in there, if you want to, if you just suddenly woke up and smelled the coffee now and you want to get into this, you should have started yesterday, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I would also say it's never too late, right? It's never too late. Like some people go, oh, well, I'll wait till February, then I'll do a lump sum payment into my RSP and I'll do it then. I'd say it's never too late. It's never too early. It's when it's right for you. Like it's got to feel right. You've got to kind of look at the opportunity and go, do I have all of the information to make an informed decision? Because let's face it, this is the first time you're actually part of the decision on where your money is invested. Because traditionally you go to your money manager and you say, I have medium risk, I'm going to retire in 10 years. And they say, oh, here's the profile we think you fit in. This is what you're going to invest in. But the likelihood is you don't actually really know what you're invested in.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have an opportunity that you have sent, Claire, or we have a brother or real estate investor Sav is doing some project that you want to lend your money to. What's next? How do we get this money out? And
so basically, I'm just going to.
That's the most important part.
What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put up onto the screen an actual current opportunity. Okay. Really? That way you're kind of seeing. Actually, I think this one's gone already, but I'll do this one. Okay. So I'm going to pop this on the screen. So earlier I talked about. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Can you guys see that? Okay. Is it showing? Maybe not.
Thumbs up, everybody. I mean, it's showing. It's perfect for me. So
you can see it. Okay, fabulous. I just can't see what you guys are seeing on my screen. But hold on.
It's an orangey looking facade.
Awesome. An orange house. Yeah. Okay. So basically, so the borrowers we select, this is the end result. This document of what we have already pre-screened. We paper them to hell. We ask a huge amount of information about borrowers because we want to answer those 3 questions and we want to provide you with all the information so you understand why they want your money, what are they going to do with it, how are they going to pay you back. So in this particular case, we've got, who was this? This was Razna. So Razna, we've done, I've lost count, 40 something mortgages for her. Yeah. She's Raz buys houses. You'll know Razna, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, she's hardcore.
She's hardcore, and we've been her financiers for a couple of years now. So so basically in this package, it's 10 pages long. We're going to provide you with 3 options. So in here you'll notice Razna is a very, very aggressive, she's a flipper and she does burrs. She typically does conversions. And with Razna, and most of our borrowers are high end. They're doing multiples. They're doing 3 to 20 plus flips or burrs at the same time. It's their full-time job. Do you remember I said time, money, and expertise? Well, I have the money for her. She's got the time and the expertise. Yeah. So when we loan to someone that's flipping like this, we will go up to 100% of the purchase price. So, but again, we've got to have specific criteria. They must own their principal home, must be their full-time job, they must have good credit, and they must have history with us. You know, if it's, you know, little Johnny doing his first flip and his dad's giving him 20K, and while he's off work and he's, you know, works in retail, I'm not going to give him 100% financing. I might give his dad 100% if he puts his dad's home up as security, but I'm not going to give little Johnny 100%. We'd want some skin in the game, or extra security. So here you can see the return ranges from, you know, 10 to 12%. So in this case, we're saying you choose the loan to value that you're comfortable with. And in this particular case, if you don't go up to 100%, I'll personally make up the difference, because I have a lot of funds of my own with Rasna. She's an amazing borrower. We talk about what funds are eligible. And so then we introduce you to Rasna. And we give you a whole history of what she's done, her mission statement. We provide a list of all of the recent, we usually go up to just 10, like the last 10. Otherwise, this could be like pages long. The last 10 deals, where they currently are at, what she paid for them. So here you can see she has a clear model. Her model is, I'll buy anything between 300 and 450, adds 100, 150K, after repair value, early sevens. So she has a clear model. We also give links to current listings, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channels of our borrowers. We then break down the credit rating, the security. So what is she going to do with it? We do provide things like, you're named on the property insurance, but she's also giving a personal guarantee on all debt. So if it defaults and there's no money left, you can go after all of her personal assets. One of the requirements being, that's why we want them to own their principal home. We also do a assignment of rents on all of our private mortgages as standard, which means that if the property is rented out in the future and there's any default, then you have the right to collect the rent directly from the tenants. You do not want a borrower who's defaulted, but then keeps collecting the rent. This is something I put into place about 3 years ago when, you know, Airbnb, like people starting the house hack, you know, and people renting out 1 or 2 rooms. I don't want that if they're in default. I've never had to execute on it, but I'm testing the character of the borrower. So if the borrower says, I don't give you a personal guarantee, I'm not doing an assignment of rents, you know, your lender takes the property if I don't pay. Nope, the lender doesn't give you any money. Simple. So again, I have a specific, I'm measuring character of the borrower. I want to make sure that that borrower feels that they have a financial obligation to their lender, and because we want to rinse and repeat, and their reputation is what's the word, on the line. We talk about the exit strategy. In this case, she does convert them into duplexes. The terms and conditions, how I get paid. We also break down past projects, and you'll see that was me with Rasna in, I think that was White Hill, or was it Ridgeway? Could have been Ridgeway, up in Ottawa. I was actually there the second week of March, and we do site visits on our borrowers that do lots of projects. Not site visits to check up on the quality of the work. I mean, that is evident when they sell, but really more to continue ensuring that we understand the market, and that if she wants to go from 12 properties last year to 30 this year, I want to feel confident she can scale up and has the infrastructure to do it. So seeing her interaction with the trades, the neighborhoods she goes after, getting an idea of what's happening in the neighborhood. Ottawa's a stupid market. It's like Windsor. It's like Windsor, Ottawa, and Montreal. All 3 of those markets are just crazy hot still. And so you can see there that once you've looked at this is kind of our package. And then there's supporting documentation that can come with it. Copy of the credit bureau, tax returns, mortgage statements, leases if there are any, purchase agreement, appraisal report, like bazillion pieces of paper that we've already got.
I mean, just from what you've showed us, that's a pretty comprehensive package, eh? I mean, I don't think, honestly speaking, because I work with joint venture partners and not, private money so far. I don't provide all this information to my joint venture partners, right? So seriously, so I think if I was the lender and I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my God, I know everything about this person that I'm giving the money to. I'm not giving the money to Claire. I'm giving the money to Rasna in this case, and this is what she's done. So it's comprehensive and it's convincing. I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I think it's important to understand that you're not going in blind. You're going in by understanding what's happening with your money, and you don't have to have any contact with Rasna. It's my job to provide strong governance, right? I'm licensed to broker in private mortgages, and therefore we have guidelines that we adhere to. But a good mortgage broker is going to have a specific model. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. You come to me and you're a regular homeowner and you need a second mortgage because you lost your job and you have a gambling problem. I'm not going to do that mortgage. Go see Oliver, the jewelry dealer that's also a mortgage broker. He'll give you a private mortgage. I won't touch that because the risk is too high. Because again, why do you need the money? What are you going to do with it? And how do I control that?
You always got to
control it. I have an issue. Like, how quickly could we ruin Raz's reputation?
Yeah.
Like, just like that, if she started to default. She's not going to risk her empire for that.
Yeah, and Raz is online. I mean, you mentioned about social media and what she does. I mean, what the borrower does. She's online. I mean, it'll be very, very fast downhill, I would say, if she does something wrong, right? So, Claire, in the interest of time, can we briefly talk about rates? So as a lender, what am I getting? What am I getting paid here?
Yes, awesome. Okay, first mortgages, typically 9 to 12%. I like to get at least 10 for first mortgages, broken up into an 8% interest rate and a 2% lender fee. Second position, so 15%, which is 10% interest rate, 5% lender fee. So that's kind of the return you're looking at.
Question over here. And this is the question I have for most. I mean, I've been a borrower before. Why do I care as the lender? The split over here. Yes. Is it that I want some money up front, or what's the story there?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Actually, I've never actually asked that question, but it's a good question. So here's why. So you need to know. So the monthly payment. Let's look at the monthly payment. If it's 8% interest only monthly payment, if you're using your registered funds, probably not so worried. But if you're using a line of credit, knowing exactly how much you're receiving each month is going to help with that line of credit payment if you happen to be using a line of credit. Also, we want to make sure the monthly payment is affordable. When it comes, like, as in, sometimes we might do 6 and 5. There's lots of equity, but how are the monthly payments going to be handled? So that's why we kind of try and find a balance between the two. I will rarely do no lender fee. Here's why. I believe that the lender needs to be paid something up front. So if you're doing a first mortgage for $100,000, there's a 2% lender fee, so $2,000. You're only sending $98,000 to the borrower, but they are going to make an 8% interest payment on the full 100. I think it's really important that the borrower understands this is private money. This is someone's retirement plan, and you should get a guaranteed upfront fee.
Got it.
So it's not that I don't like, in my 20 plus years of experience with different lenders and different setups, those that don't pay a lender fee, a reasonable lender fee, shouldn't be horrific, don't always understand what they're getting into. And so, when you work with a broker, we have to fully disclose everything. And, when someone says, well, I can't afford to pay a lender fee, like I don't have 2% of the mortgage amount, so maybe I don't have $1,000 of equity to give you to pay the lender fee, then I don't want to do that deal. Like, to me, we're already in trouble because they can't afford a lender fee. This is one way of saying you've got to pay something up front so you understand that you're getting private financing. In my opinion, private financing should not be a permanent financing solution, period. Right? So in Rasna's case, she acquires using private financing. She can get high loan to values. She can close fast. She can do 20 at once. No requalifying every time she walks into the bank or signs another purchase agreement. She's got economies of scale and it makes sense. But she's not going to hold a property and keep private financing. With her, we refinance with the bank. Mm-hmm. So when she wants to hold them, in her case, what she will often do, actually not hers, I have another borrower that's doing about 62 right now, and he actually has to sell about 30% of his BRRRRs just to improve the comparables. Wow. Because buying so many in a small area, if he holds them all, you don't get the comparables to increase the end value.
That's called monopoly, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. His own comps. I'm gonna buy the whole street. Park Lane's mine.
Listen, going back to the fees and things like that, you mentioned about the monthly payments. What is typical as a lender? What can I expect? Am I expecting interest only payments? Am I expecting a balloon at the end of it? Am I expecting principal plus interest? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah. So there's so many different ways to do it. I will tell you that I do not do balloon payments, period. I don't. And that the reason for that is every time I've done, again, a lot of my changes to the way I do business are just based on experience. A balloon payment would be where the borrower doesn't make you any payments. Maybe your interest rate's 1 or 2% higher and they pay it all to you at the end. I don't like that. To me, it's no different to, remember, I have to act for both, right? Mm. So the downside of a balloon payment for both parties is the borrower forgets their monthly debt obligation because they don't have one. There's no payment. Yeah. They also forget how much 12 months of interest can add up. And when it comes to payout, they're like, holy crap, that's $27,000. That's horrific. But if it was $1,250 a month, no one would bat an eye. So there's then that perception as well as people just not doing their math. Also, do I want to know the deal's going south on month 12 or the first month they bounce a payment? So I don't want to wait a year from now to realize that they never renovated that place. There's not enough equity and they're in trouble. So I don't do balloon payments. I'd rather loan them more money so they make monthly payments. I know that sounds a bit bizarre, but it's that monthly debt obligation to me keeps everyone in line and on track. Yeah, if someone sees $1,500 going out of their account each month, they're thinking about the weekly cost of funds on their flip.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was just going to say, as a flipper myself, if I'm making those monthly payments, I know that's going into my costing. I know that's going into my project profitability, and I want to get out of there as fast as possible, right? And it keeps the fire lit under my butt, if you will, that I want to get in and out as quick as I say I can, right? So absolutely. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Going back to being a lender, I'd love to give you my money, but I'm a conservative lender, right? And I'm worried. I'm scared about the market. This is money that I've been working for the last 30 years, and it's my savings, right? But I see the benefits of being a lender. And I was just about to write you that check, Claire. Unfortunately, COVID hit, right? And so how would you protect my money? I understand lower loan to value is an option. I'm going to put it out there. Can I get more security? Can I get another charge on a second house, for example, or something like that? Is that something that is possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we could argue that the general securities agreement is additional security already, because that's not often offered by everyone. The general security agreement gives you the right to register on any real estate or any assets they own should a default occur. If, like today, for example, so say, for example, you're coming in today and say, it's my first deal, I'm really not sure, I would probably suggest a lower loan to value on one property as opposed to doing a blanket by registering against more and seeing how that felt with you. If you look at something like, and I think it comes down to, well, let me back up. Two types of borrowers: regular homeowners. they only own their own home. They have a regular job. I don't like those. All the defaults I've ever had have been on regular homeowners. Hate them when it comes to private lending. I'll be really honest with you. It's too easy to walk away. I can't control whether they mess up their marriage, they, lose their job, they suddenly get a gambling habit or whatever habit. I've got no control. And character goes out the window when you're in financial stress. So my real estate investors are my favorite borrowers, where a majority of the private mortgages we do are for the likes of Rasna, is being proactive. So our history of zero default with real estate investors, and especially during COVID-19, I can't tell you how many horror stories I'm hearing because the due diligence wasn't done on the borrower up front. It was, I met someone. Like a lot of people, I've heard so many stories and people talking about, this is when the curtains are wide open during COVID-19. We'll see who leveraged smartly and did their due diligence and who didn't.
Yeah. I mean, lower loan to value. That's a tongue twister. Lower loan to value is definitely, of course, for the conservative lender, is probably the way to go.
Agreed.
I think,
and also maybe pick markets that, like, we know Ottawa is super strong. We know London. We know Brantford. But some people, I hate to say it, might say, well, I don't like Windsor. Sudbury, no, it's too far. If a lender says to me, if they live in Toronto and they say, I only want deals in Toronto, I will tell them up front, I don't have any deals in Toronto, because that's a regular homeowner, and, Harold, the jewelry dealer's got plenty of those for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sorry, you mentioned before I forget this point over here, the general security administration agreement. Covers all assets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that only if we use a broker to broker the deal? What if I go to my brother, who has a ton of money, and say, okay, let's do this deal, and for whatever reason, shit hits the fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I on the hook as a borrower? Because is the general security agreement still in play here or no?
So yes and no. So the first thing would be that, I guess, let's talk about the general securities agreement. Actually, let me back up. Let's just talk about having a private mortgage or any mortgage. So whether it's a mortgage from TD or RBC, or it's a private mortgage, the foreclosure and power of sale proceedings are exactly the same. There's no difference. So in Canada, there is personal recourse when you have a mortgage. Now, what that means is, if I have a mortgage and it's in default, the home is sold through foreclosure or power of sale, and there is not enough money to pay the lender back, whether that's TD or you with your millions in the bank, Savio. Wow. So there's not enough money to pay you back. You're still owed $50,000. In Canada, you can legally go after the borrowers. They do not get off the hook. They can't just run off. I mean, you've got to find them, admittedly, but they're on the hook. There is what we call personal recourse. In the US, for example, there is no personal recourse. So you can hand your keys back, and any loss, tough. The lender takes that on the chin. So in Canada, there is personal recourse. In order to go after their personal assets on a default, it is quite a lengthy process. So we add a general securities agreement as a mandatory requirement. If you go and do a deal with your brother, your lawyer might not do this, right? It's a specific, I want a separate general securities agreement signed. That general security agreement is registered on the borrower's Personal Property Securities Act registry. So I don't know if people know, you've got land titles for titles of real estate.
Yeah.
You've actually got PPSA, and you can go onto ppsa.ca, and for $24 pull your own report. You have your own individual title as a human being. So the general securities agreement gives us the right to register a lien on your individual title. That allows us to expedite the process to get a sheriff to come take your kid's laptop. and your flat screen TV and your leather couch.
Got it. Got it. I mean, for that simple reason, I don't know why would any private money lender do a private, like a truly private deal, you know, just across the table from somebody they know, a friend, a buddy, or whatever, right?
You'll be surprised. There's a lot of that happens.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, oh, I know him. He's been on stage. He must be awesome. Absolutely. I'm like, trust but verify. Like the borrower pays the broker, you know, so use a good broker.
I'm saying, you know, as a lender, I lose nothing by going to a brokerage or somebody who knows what they're doing, right? In fact, I get more. I get more. So it's a no-brainer for me. Listen, Claire, in the interest of time, we've already run over.
Time.
Usually it's an hour, but, you know, we're about 15 minutes over. I think I've gone through my questions. I truly believe we've just scratched the surface of private mortgages. If anybody else has any questions, ask now, please, before we let Claire go. But listen, I think we definitely have to bring Claire back because there's so much deeper. There's so many things that we can, you know, topics within topics that we can address. You know, just the whole process of how do you foreclose, for example. That's one, you know, more in-depth research that you do, Claire, for your borrowers and things like that, right? So we'll definitely have you back and we can ask all those questions and we'll pick a specific topic, you know. That's why I like to keep these series short because, you know, it's more a discussion and then we can take question and answers live. But I believe in your freebies there that you had sent us before, and there's another one, Claire, about being the bank. Is that one of the three, or can I share that with the audience?
Oh, absolutely. So what I'll do, if it's okay with you, I'll get Stephanie to send you a link to the 3 books as well as a copy of this presentation. I think a few people asked. There's some things we didn't go through, like default and responsibilities, like all the other bits and pieces. We'll send you a PDF copy of the presentation too.
No, perfect.
But it's good to see some faces here. You guys know who I'm waving at. I see some familiar faces there, so it's so good to see you. I won't say their name. They know who they are.
They know who you are, apparently.
Yes. Oh, what about that?
No, perfect. And I'll share that link when we post. So as I said, this is recorded. We're going to post it up in our Facebook group and page there. I'll send the link with that post as well, so people can actually download that information and go through it. But listen, guys, I mean, it's about your power team. Don't waste your time trying to get stuck in the nitty gritty. You'll have all the questions and then you'll probably shelve it somewhere and, you know, you'll forget about it, right? Claire's given her personal number there. You know, give her a call if you have any questions. If it's something that you're seriously looking into, who better to ask than, you know, get information from the horse's mouth, right? So on that note, thank you, Claire, for coming out so much.
My pleasure. Samuel, thank you so much.
We love to talk to you, you know, and we'll have you again for sure. We can go on for hours and hours, but at this point, I think we'll say goodnight. For those of you who are still on the call, please register for the next event. So next Tuesday, we are going to be talking to Mark Baltazar about small family investing. So getting into small apartment buildings. When I say small, I mean 5 units and above, okay? So if you're a residential investor already and you want to up your game, you want to take it to the next level, this conversation is going to be for you. It's really, again, how to. So we're not going to go into the managing a multi-family complex building. We're going to be talking about how do you move from residential into a multi-family, bigger multi-family unit, right? The really how-to part of it. And then on the last week of May, we're having Michael Dominguez from a longtime member of the Rain Club. We're going to be talking to the new investor. Why do you want to get into real estate investing in the first place? Okay. And how you can become a millionaire by owning just 3 properties. And Michael's going to go over that. It's going to be awesome. Look out for the events coming up in June. Until then, have a good night. Stay safe and stay apart.
Good night.